Welcome to the third online Kirloskar Vasundhara Ramnadi festival. Like every year, this year too we are pleased to bring to you stories from the banks of Pune's short endangered river. We certainly aren't pleased about the condition the river is in, and that is why we keep returning to its waters, ensuring different stakeholders are involved in its life. School children and teachers, researchers, residents in its vicinity, elected representatives, and many others. We hope the third Ramnadi festival is a window into the diverse aspects of river restoration and the Ramnadi's undulating journey. Restoring a river is a stupendous task, even when it is as short as the 19.5 kilometer long Ramnadi. Aarti Kirloskar, the convener of this festival, talks about the approach to this mission of restoring the Ramnadi. She is a director of SL Kirloskar CSR Foundation, which works on education and hygiene education. Aarti is passionate about environmental protection and green living, more so after studying ecology and sustainable farming. She is an artist and regularly shows her work in exhibitions. Let's hear what Aarti Kirloskar has to say.
Long ago, the Ramnadi was one of Pune's most beautiful rivers. However, today, this small river has been reduced to a sewage carrier. About 4 years back, when we first contemplated working on this river, we explored several approaches for rejuvenating the Ramnadi. Technological interventions were expensive, administrative attention was lacking, and people around the river were unaware of its presence in their backyard. We chose an ecological approach to restore this river, primarily because this considers the physical and biological diversity and includes civil society in the rejuvenation program. And thus started the Ramnadi Restoration Mission, with 13 organizations getting different competencies on board for a common goal. For us, the Ramnadi is a living member of our society and one that needs our care and love. We intend to put forth a simple, participative model that can be replicated across the country by organizations and civil society. This is a mission, not a program. It does not have an end, as there can be no end to caring for our natural environment.
What exactly does ecological restoration mean for water bodies? Dr. Gurudas Nulkar talks about this strategy. Gurudas is a teacher, prolific author, and researcher. He has a PhD in environmental management in industrial ecosystems. He is the director of Center for Sustainable Development, Gokhale Institute of Politics and Economics. He is also on the board of trustees of Ecological Society. Gurudas has published 4 books, several research papers, and articles on issues related to sustainable development. Here is Dr. Gurudas Nulkar.
The Ramnadi Restoration Mission employs an ecological approach. What is this ecological approach? We have been asked this question many times. Well, the ecological approach starts with the fundamental belief that the river is a living entity. There is life in it, and it is a critical component of the hydrological cycle. That's the reason why freshwater organisms like us are alive. And therefore, we must take care of the river as a natural living entity. So the first thing we look at is how do you conserve the physical diversity of the river? How do you get back those meanders, those grassy patches, those riffles, those puddles, those waterfalls, all of those things which are inanimate. So we look at them first. After that, we look at the biological diversity, because the biological diversity is essentially a manifestation of the physical diversity. You get back the physical diversity and the biological diversity is going to come back. And once you have both these components, then you have a living river. Then there's a river which is conducting its ecological services. It has a self-purification property. It has services of groundwater recharge, of irrigating forests, of sustaining the riparian zone. All of these things are naturally going to follow. So that is an ecological approach. The Pashan Lake, which is a barrage built on the Ramnadi, is one of the most ecologically diverse hotspots along the river. And we are taking special attention to focus on what we are doing with the Pashan Lake. At the moment, it's getting a lot of sewage, and therefore, as you can expect, there is a lot of hyacinth growth and pistia growth on the water surface. But that's bound to go down once we rejuvenate the upstream part of the Pashan Lake. There we have a plan to make a reed bed. Now, the reed bed is a natural ecological element. It's not a technology, but it's a simple biofilter. So we are using some treatment like biological and physical measures to improve the entire river in its entirety. And the most important part of the ecological approach is it does not need energy. It does not need administrative control. It needs civil society participation. And then you have an ecologically restored river.
The next film is a recap of Ramnadi Restoration Mission's journey with the river over the past 4 years. Let's watch this capsule of various engagements, activities, and stakeholders, all striving for a better Ramnadi. We are honored that Dr. Rajendra Shende is giving the inaugural speech for the third Kirloskar Vasundhara Ramnadi Festival. Dr. Shende, the former director of United Nations Environment Programme, is a leading expert in sustainable technologies and strategic policies on climate change and other global environmental accords. He led global activities from UNEP's 5 worldwide offices to build capacity and provide technological support to stabilize the ozone layer by enabling developing countries to comply with the Montreal Protocol, which is considered as the most successful multilateral environmental agreement so far, having put the ozone layer on the path to recovery. Dr. Shende is currently the chairman of the think tank TERRE Policy Center. Without further ado, over to Dr. Shende for the inaugural speech of the third Ramnadi Festival.
Namaskar. I'm extremely delighted to be here participating in a very unique festival called as a Ramnadi Festival, organized so well and designed and ideated so well by Kirloskar Vasundhara. Many of us probably don't know what this Ramnadi is. It's just a tributary, a small river flowing very near to the city of Pune. It's almost an invisible river. Just like some of the rivers in the past have become invisible, this is a flowing river but still very invisible because it is surrounded by the buildings, it is surrounded by various other constructions and flows directly through the urban atmosphere. Water which is flowing through it is now becoming so precious. The world finds water as if it is another gold. Let's call it a blue gold. Because that scarcity is so scaring that it is projected by United Nations that supply of water as compared to demand of water will be 40% less by 2030. Now imagine there is a less supply of water, and it's not just less, but it's a severely less, then how our human society will be functioning? Because water is not just a decorative gold, water is a lifeline for every individual, whether it is a human being or any other animal, but is also the lifeline for the trees and the ecosystems. Water is so important even for our health or the health of the ecosystems. Water is also so important because it is also can be a source of energy. And the water is so closely related to sustainable development goals of United Nations that almost each and every goal, whether it is a removal of poverty, eliminating hunger, a well-being, health, clean energy, and world peace, the water is so closely related to it. And today, we are in a water crisis. What it means is, our life is in a crisis, health is in a crisis, peace is in a crisis. And in such atmosphere, in such kind of a scenario, Kirloskar Vasundhara is trying best to engage the community and engage the youth to make sure that Ramnadi, a river, becomes an example of not just conserving the water, but also making that river flow again. So let me come back to what is called as a global scenario of rivers and waters. We all know that Earth's surface 70% is water. But most of it, nearly 97% is a saline water. 3% is a fresh water. Even that fresh water is locked up and it is not available to us because it is in a form of glaciers and frozen ice in Arctic and Antarctic. Out of that 3%, probably 70% of that water is what is called as in the ground. It's an invisible water. So what is visible to us is just lakes, rivers, and marshlands, or what we call it as in Marathi we call it dabki. Now that is all we have. So at United Nations level, it is called as 3 types of water we have. One is the water that scares us, that is a flood water, maybe due to the climate change, maybe due to the calamities. But there is a water which can take our lives away. The second type of water is not scary water, but scarce water. And that is because the water is just not available, because it is going waste, it is getting evaporated, it is getting absorbed, and it is just not being available to us. There is a third type of water, and that is available to us, accessible to us, but it is dirty. So too much water, too scarce water, and a dirty water. We are living today, the 8 billion of us on this earth, with these kind of waters. And if the water is a lifeline, our life is in total danger. That is the scenario. That scenario is being identified by United Nations as one of the top priorities to address it. That water on this earth cannot be generated. It is the same water. It is the same water which was there, which was seen by our forefathers, which was seen by our great warriors, it is seen by the history. That water is the same amount as what we have. In fact, because of that water, there is a life on this earth. No other planet on the solar system has this opportunity to generate the life from the water. We have that. But that water is limited. It is a constant. It is not getting generated. It can be recycled. Yes. It can be preserved. And it can be used in a quality way. A river is a living being, not only humans, not only monkeys, not only animals. The river is a living being, and that living being should have all the rights what we have. By way of treating and using that rivers, by damming it, or by catching it for the agricultural purposes, or for the purpose of producing hydroelectricity, we are in fact putting the river water into the jail. Every dam, every bandhara, as we call it in Marathi, is the jail for river. That doesn't mean that we should not use the water. That means use the water in a sustainable way. Make it flow. Let the river flow. In fact, New Zealand was the first country in the world to officially and legally give the status of living being to the water, to the river. And then India followed by making Ganga and Yamuna as living beings. And now Ganga and Yamuna are called as, just like us, they are also living beings. So this revolution of treating river as a living being probably can be followed for Ramnadi as well. So let the community around it, the Gram Panchayat, or even those who are using the Ramnadi water, maybe Pune Municipal Corporation, they can come together and declare that Ramnadi is a living being. And we have no right to abuse it. That is the first thing which I would like to say. The second thing I would like to say is, I think the Kirloskars are doing a great job. They are very conscious about the environment and the importance of rivers and the water there. that water need to be researched in a modern way. For example, I every day see, before going from my residence or from my office in this farm, I look at the map, a Google map, and I see where the traffics are, where the traffic jams are. I see the yellow colors, red colors, green colors. Why we cannot see such traffic of water on some of the important rivers? Why not Ramnadi? I mean, we have a drone technology today, and that drone technology or satellites can be used to see whether the water in Ramnadi is really flowing or it is getting jammed. Immediately, if it is getting jammed, I should get a red color. And then everybody should be able to see it on their mobile, the mapping of rivers, the flow of rivers, that the rivers are just living and not dying. We are not using those kind of things. I have appealed to the Kirloskar that they should become a first organization, a responsive organization for mapping and letting people know that the river is flowing or it is getting jammed. And this brings me to my final point. We need a research on rivers. We must know whether rivers is going to get invisible one day, maybe because of climate change, maybe because of pandemic, people are neglected that. But we must know what is happening to the life of the river and the life around the river, and what will increase its flow, and what will increase the biodiversity around it. Because on that nature and that biodiversity, our life flourishes, our life is nurtured. Our whole human civilization has first nurtured on the banks of the rivers. We need to continue the research on the way the rivers flow, the way they flourish, and the way the biodiversity is done. And if you say city of Pune is sort of an Vidya se Mahergar, that means there are a number of universities and research institutes around Pune. What is the use of it? Unless we start respecting the rivers, we start respecting the nature. And hence, I strongly feel that the way we have an Indian Institute of Technology, one of them I graduated from, or Indian Institute of Management, or Indian Institute of Trade, or Indian Institute of Business, all these are flourishing, but there is no Indian Institute of River Management. We should start that in a small scale, and it should be in Pune, because Pune has number of rivers as well as rivulets and tributaries, and that is the right place to start the Indian Institute of River Management to check on the health of the river. With that, I leave these thoughts with the audience, with the organizers, and with number of other voluntary organizations who are working on a similar cause, to make sure that let's do the actions which are long lasting and not of a short term impact, not for getting the news around, but getting the results around. Thank you very much.
The human mind is brilliant and also a creature of habit. Neural pathways, the connections in the brain formed due to repeated stimulus, are created more easily in children than in adults. The more a child learns about rivers and what should and should not be done, the more the river is likely to become a part of their consciousness. RRM's school programs tap into this simple understanding, which was also at the root of the elocution competition conducted in different schools in Pune.
रामनदी 19 किलोमीटरची आहे आणि ती अत्यंत प्रदूषित आहे, वाईट अवस्थेमध्ये आहे. तर ती आपल्याला चांगली करायची आहे. आणि त्याकरता पुणे महानगरपालिकेच्या ज्या 25 आपल्या शाळा आहेत त्या शाळा आणि इतर प्रायव्हेट शाळा अशा आपण सगळ्या शाळा रामनदी रिस्टोरेशन मिशननी दत्तक घेतल्यात. इथे जे काही अनिल मामा सांगतील त्याबद्दल तुम्हाला काय वाटतंय? जे बोलतील त्यांच्यातनं आपल्याला 1, 2, 3 असे 3 नंबर काढायचे आहेत आणि त्यांना नंतर आपण मोठी पारितोषिकं देणार आहोत.
इथं जे दिसतंय ना तुम्हाला, याला म्हणायचं नदीचे खोरे. म्हणजे नदीच्या किनारी जे जे गावं असतात किंवा शेती असते, जमीन असते, डोंगर असते, त्या सगळ्या काय म्हणतात, नदीचं खोरं. डोंगरामध्ये नदी उगम पावते, नंतर ती सपाट प्रदेशातनं वाहत जाते आणि शेवटी इथं तिचं मुख आहे. एक तर समुद्राला मिळते किंवा दुसऱ्या कुठल्या एका नदीला मिळते.
नदीत खूप सारा कचरा आहे जे की आपणच टाकतोय आणि ते आपल्याला थांबवलं पाहिजे. कारण की ते कचऱ्यामुळं मेन तर जे प्राणी राहतात ना ते मरू शकतात. जे दोन झाडं सांगितले आत्ता, जे घाण पाण्याला स्वच्छ करतात ते पण खूप उपयोग आहे. जिथं घाण पाणी तिथं आपण ते लावू शकतो.
आपल्या घरातलं सांडपाणी रामनदीत मिसळायला नाही पाहिजे. रामनदी स्वच्छ करण्यासाठी मी खूप प्रयत्न करेल आणि माझ्या मित्रमैत्रिणी, माझ्या घरच्यांना, माझ्या शेजारच्यांना हे सांगणार की रामनदीत कचरा मिसळू देऊ नका आणि सांडपाणी मिसळू नका.
तर मुलांना अगदी रामनदीची ओळख, ती रामनदी कुठून चालू होते, त्याच्यानंतर ती कशी वाहत जाते आणि शेवटी ती मुळा नदीला कशी मिळते, पण मध्ये त्याच्यामध्ये रामनदी खराब झालेली आहे, तर तिला वाचवण्याचं काम कसं करायचं आणि मुलांचं ॲक्च्युली त्याच्यामध्ये रोल काय आहे. कारण हीच मुलं पुढे जाऊन समाजामध्ये सुजाण नागरिक होणार आहेत आणि त्यांच्याकडूनच अपेक्षा आहे की ही नदी वाचवणं आणि त्याचा उपयोग म्हणजे त्याचं संवर्धन करणं हे मुलांच्या हातात आहेत.
रामनदी रिस्टोरेशन मिशनच्या वतीने शाळेत वेगवेगळे वर्षभर विविध कार्यक्रम राबवले जातात आणि ह्या कार्यक्रमातून मुलांना चांगली माहिती मिळते. तसेच मुलांच्या स्पर्धा घेतल्या जातात, त्यातनं मुलांना बक्षिसे दिली जातात आणि त्यामुळे त्या मुलांना त्याचा चांगला फायदा होतो.
महानगरपालिकेच्या सगळ्या शाळांमधनं आपण सेशन घेतली होती आणि त्या ठिकाणी आपण रामनदी म्हणजे नक्की कशी आहे, रामनदी कुठून उगम पावते, कुठपर्यंत संगमाला जाऊन मिळते, रामनदीची आजची अवस्था काय आहे, या काठावर कोणकोणती देवळं आहेत, या ठिकाणी सोसायट्या कशा आहेत, ग्रामीण भाग कुठला आहे, शहरी भाग कुठला आहे, या सगळ्याची माहिती अनिल मामांनी प्रत्येक शाळेमध्ये दिली आणि ती माहिती पडद्यावर दृकश्राव्य पद्धतीने दिल्यावर त्यासमोर उपस्थित असलेली सगळी मुलांना बोलायची इच्छा होती. परंतु त्यातल्या काही निवडक मुलांना पुढे बोलावलं गेलं आणि त्यांनी मला रामनदीबद्दल काय वाटतं हे सांगितलं गेलं आणि त्यातली पारितोषिक प्राप्त म्हणजे ज्याला आपण पहिली राऊंड म्हणू, त्यामध्ये जे विनर्स होते त्यातनं प्रत्येकातनं 2-2 प्रत्येक शाळेतनं निवडण्यात आली मुलं आणि मुली आणि त्यांची आज फायनल राऊंड या ठिकाणी आपल्या शाळेमध्ये होते आहे.
108 नद्यांवर तर चला जानू या नदीला आत्ता सुरू होणार आहे सगळ्या नद्यांवर. पण तुमचे सारखे छोटे बाळ, तुम्ही तर किती वर्ष अगोदर 2-3-4 वर्ष अगोदर या राम नदीला समजण्याच्या, जाणण्याच्या हे जे कार्यक्रम तुम्ही सुरू केलाय आणि हे सुरू केलाय जाणण्याचा कार्यक्रम तेवढंच नव्हे तर यावर वक्तृत्व स्पर्धा पण घेत आहेत.
जीवनासाठी अत्यंत आवश्यक गोष्टी म्हणजे अन्न, पाणी, हवा प्रत्येक गाव हे कुठल्या ना कुठल्या तरी नदीच्या काठी वसलेले असते, कारण आपल्याला पाणी भेटावं, आपली पाण्याची गरज भागावी. रामनदी ही मुळा नदीची अत्यंत महत्त्वाची उपनदी. पुण्याच्या वायव्य दिशेला खाटपेवाडी, मुकाईवाडी, वरपेवाडीच्या मागे जसरेश्वर व सह्याद्रीच्या डोंगराळ रांगातून ती उगम पावते. या रामनदीचे उगमस्थान भुकुम रामेश्वरम जवळ आहे. ही नदी 19 किलोमीटरपर्यंत वाहत जाते. रामनदीवर एकूण 4 तलाव आहेत. खटपेवाडी तलाव, छत्रपती शिवाजी महाराज तलाव म्हणजेच मानस लेक, चौधे तलाव आणि पाषाण तलाव. माझी शाळा रामनदीच्या खोऱ्यात आहे व मी रामनदीच्या खोऱ्यात राहते, पण तिची अवस्था आता खूप खराब आहे. लोक तिथं कचरा, घरातील सांडपाणी टाकतात. रामनदी घाण करण्यामध्ये कुठे ना कुठेतरी आपण सुद्धा कारणीभूत आहोत. आता 3 ते 4 लाख लोक राहतात म्हणल्यावर कचरा होणारच. तर त्या लोकांनी जे मैला पाणी हे रामनदीमध्ये त्याचे चंब सोडलेले आहेत. कोणी कचरा टाकतं, ओला कचरा, सुका कचरा हा घंटा गाडीलाच द्यायला पाहिजे, ते न करता ते रामनदीमध्ये टाकतात. आपल्या घरातले सांडपाणी शुद्धीकरण केंद्रातच गेलं पाहिजे आणि पूजेचं सामान वगैरे ते टाकलं नाही पाहिजे आणि कचरा नाही केला पाहिजे. एका अप्रतिम नैसर्गिक ठेव्याला कसे होत्याचे नव्हते करतात, त्याचे तंतोतंत उदाहरण म्हणजे रामनदी. आधी 70% मासे होते, पण आता फक्त 2% का राहिले याचा तुम्ही कधी विचार केला का? या सगळ्याला कुठे ना कुठेतरी आपणच जबाबदार आहोत असे तुम्हाला नाही का वाटत?
So like how we know that river is our mother, and there is also one mother for us. When we get injured, our mother put bandage on it, so with bandage we don't get more hurt. So like that only, is it good that if our river mother is getting dirty, she also need help from we children? So that's why we have to save our Ramnadi.
After hearing so much about the Ramnadi, I would be surprised if you didn't want to see it for yourself. And so, we take you on a virtual tour of this elusive river with the hope that you will visit in person and be inspired to take action. Community involvement is often a key pillar in natural conservation and ecosystem restoration plans. The case of Vembanad Lake, a Ramsar site in Muhamma village in Kerala, was no different, where women from the community were trained to make cloth bags which would help replace and reduce plastic bags, a major polluter of the lake. Let's watch the story of this village, which has set its eyes on becoming a model wetland village.
Only half an hour to go before school ends. But at this government school in Muhamma in the southern Indian state of Kerala, students are still hard at work.
അമ്മയോട് പറയണ കിറ്റൊന്നും മേടിക്കരുത്, ഇതുപോലുള്ള ബാഗ് തുണി കൊണ്ട് തയ്ച്ച് അതിൽ എടുക്കാവുള്ളെന്ന് പറയണം. പ്രകൃതിയെ സംരക്ഷിക്കണ്ടേ.
It's not just another lesson in math or history, nor is Vidya Anusudhan their teacher. She is here as part of a new program to train students on how to upcycle old clothes and make them into cloth bags. Vidya has been stitching clothes for years now. But it's only in 2016 when she was approached and given training by her panchayat and non-profit Ashoka Trust in Ecology and Environment, or ATRE, that she decided to switch to making bags, pillowcases and sanitary pads from old clothes collected from homes, schools and colleges. Since then, she along with this small crew of women have made close to 6,000 cloth bags from around 2,600 kgs of used clothes. For the women, the benefits have been multifold.
ഒരുപാട് മാറ്റങ്ങൾ ഉണ്ടായിട്ടുണ്ട്. ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് ചെറിയ രീതിയിലാണെങ്കിലും വരുമാനങ്ങൾ ഇതിൽ നിന്നൊക്കെ കിട്ടുന്നുണ്ട്. പിന്നെ ഒരുപാട് ആളുകളുമായിട്ട് ബന്ധപ്പെടാനും കാര്യങ്ങളൊക്കെ അറിയാനും ചർച്ച ചെയ്യാനും ഒക്കെ സാധിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട്. അതിന് നല്ലൊരു സന്തോഷം, മനസ്സിന് സുഖം.
Convincing herself to switch to upcycling wasn't a huge task. Vidya's native village, Muhamma, in Alapura district, lies along Vembanad Lake, the longest lake in India. And for years, she has witnessed pollution in the lake getting progressively worse. Being part of an initiative that reduces the number of clothes dumped into the lake, while also helping make alternatives for plastic bags, seemed meaningful to her.
ശരിക്കും എൻ്റെ ഭർത്താവിന് കായലിലെ പണിയാണ്, കക്ക വരാൻ പോവുകയാണ്. അപ്പോൾ വരുന്ന കൂട്ടത്തിൽ കുറേ കാണും പ്ലാസ്റ്റിക് ഇങ്ങനെ വെള്ളത്തിൽ കൊണ്ടുവരും തിരിച്ച് വീട്ടിൽ. ഈ വാരണതിന് എല്ലാ ഇതിലും 2-3 പ്ലാസ്റ്റിക് വീതം ഉണ്ടാവും. ഇപ്പോഴും കുപ്പികളും പ്ലാസ്റ്റിക് കവറുകളും വലിച്ചെറിയുന്നതിന് ഒരു നിയന്ത്രണം ഇല്ലാതെയാണ് ആളുകൾ തോടുകളിലേക്കും കായലുകളിലേക്കും തള്ളുന്നത്.
Flowing through 3 districts of Kerala, the Vembanad Lake is a famed tourist spot, known for its houseboats, canals and paddy fields. It is also a Ramsar site, meaning it has been designated a wetland of international importance by UNESCO. But the lake, which serves as a lifeline for 1.6 million people, is also one of the most polluted water bodies in the world. A recent study found high levels of plastics and microplastics in the lake. Textiles and glass are also major sources of pollution. Pesticides used in nearby paddy fields also trickle down into the water, choking the rich biodiversity that exists in and around it. In Muhamma, a small village with a population of 25,000, the impact has been severe.
അതോടൊപ്പം തന്നെ കക്കയുടെ ഉൽപ്പാദനം കുറഞ്ഞിട്ടുണ്ട്, മത്സ്യത്തിൻ്റെ ഉൽപ്പാദനം കുറഞ്ഞിട്ടുണ്ട്, കൊഞ്ചിൻ്റെ ഉൽപ്പാദനമാണ് വലിയ തരത്തിൽ കുറഞ്ഞിട്ടുള്ളത്. ഇതെല്ലാം തന്നെ ഈ കായലുമായി ബന്ധപ്പെട്ട് ഉപജീവനം നടത്തുന്ന ആളുകളെ വലിയ തരത്തിൽ ബാധിച്ച് അവരുടെ വലിയൊരു ജീവൽ പ്രശ്നമായിരുന്നു. അപ്പോൾ അതിന് പരിഹാരം എന്ന തരത്തിലാണ് നമ്മൾ ഈ പ്രവർത്തനങ്ങൾ ഏറ്റെടുക്കാൻ തയ്യാറായത്.
The situation was dire when the Alapura branch of Bangalore-based non-profit A-Tree approached the Panchayat in 2016 with an idea. Make Muhamma a model wetland village. Under the project, a wide range of initiatives including the upcycling enterprise were launched.
All our work is involved with maximum community participation. We believe in an inclusive form of management. So actually for this project also we made sure that the local panchayat is partnered with us along with the health department and the other community based organizations in the area. So I think maybe that should be one reason that partnership made it happen. The response we got was tremendous.
That response was the highest for another initiative which made Muhamma India's first synthetic sanitary pad-free village. Plastic-based pads that end up in the lake were found to be a major source of pollution in the village, with a survey finding that 7,000 menstruating women in Muhamma use up to 1 lakh sanitary pads a month. Ever since they were distributed on subsidized rates, Bindu switched to using cloth pads and menstrual cups.
ആദ്യം ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് പേടിയായിരുന്നു. ഇത് കപ്പൊക്കെ കാണുമ്പോൾ നമുക്ക് ആർക്കാണേലും പേടി വരും. പക്ഷെ നമ്മളത് ഉപയോഗിച്ച് കഴിഞ്ഞപ്പോൾ ഇപ്പം നമുക്കതില്ലാതെ പറ്റാത്തൊരിതായി. കഴിഞ്ഞ ആ പ്രളയമൊക്കെ വന്ന സമയത്തൊക്കെ നമുക്ക് ഒത്തിരി ഉപകാരപ്പെട്ടു. ഈ കപ്പൊക്കെ ഇപ്പോൾ കപ്പാണെങ്കിൽ നമുക്കത് ഉപയോഗിച്ച് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ നമ്മളത് യൂസ് ചെയ്തിട്ട് നമ്മൾ പിന്നെ ഉണക്കാനൊന്നും വിടണ്ട. ആ പ്രളയ സമയത്താണെങ്കിലും നമുക്ക് അകത്ത് തന്നെ ഇരുന്ന് നമുക്ക് തുണിയൊക്കെ ആണെങ്കിൽ നമ്മളത് ഉണക്കാനും ഇത് ചെയ്യാനും ഒക്കെ നടക്കണ്ട. ഇതാകുമ്പോൾ നമുക്ക് ഒന്നും അറിയണ്ട. അത് ഏറ്റവും
That's not the only lifestyle change that Bindu brought about. Like many others in Muhamma, she installed a system at home that now ensures efficient disposal of food and other organic waste. The biopod developed and distributed by A-Tree utilizes black soldier flies which are attracted to the smell of waste put into the biopods. The flies lay eggs which are directed into the biopod. Their larvae then feed on the food waste to grow while simultaneously converting the waste into manure. The flies that grow out of the larvae are directed into another container, where they are collected and later used as a source of protein for chicken and other poultry.
കോഴിക്ക് പക്ഷേ ഇതാണ് ഭയങ്കര ഇഷ്ടം. നമ്മൾ ഇട്ട് കൊടുത്തു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ വേസ്റ്റ് ഉണ്ടെങ്കിലും ആ വേസ്റ്റ് തിന്നുകയല്ല. കോഴി ഈ ഇതിനെ തപ്പിയെടുത്ത് കഴിക്കും. അങ്ങനെ പുഴുവിന് കൊടുത്ത മുട്ടയെ നമ്മൾ സാധാരണ ഇത് കൊടുത്ത ഗോതമ്പ് ഇതൊക്കെ കൊടുത്താൽ ചെറിയ മുട്ടയായിരിക്കും. പക്ഷേ ഈ പുഴു കഴിക്കുമ്പോഴത്തേനും മുട്ടക്ക് നല്ല വലിപ്പം ഉണ്ടാകും. നമ്മുടെ ഈ വീട്ടിലെ ആഹാരം തന്നെയല്ലേ കൊടുത്ത് ഇത് ചെയ്യണം.
For Joycey, the biopods have helped manage waste at home and also earn an income. She got trained on how to make a DIY version of the biopods using materials like buckets and pipes at home. Now, as and when orders come in, she makes them and earns a profit of around 200 rupees per biopod.
ലാഭം ഉണ്ടെന്ന് വെച്ചിട്ട് നമ്മൾ വീട്ടിൽ ലോക്ക്ഡൗൺ സമയമല്ലേ, വെറുതെ ഇരിക്കുകയല്ലേ, അതിൽ നമുക്കൊരു ചെറിയ വരുമാനം.
Now all eyes are on the future. Like in the upcycling initiative, school students in Muhamma are also being given training on how to use and make biopods at home. The project's impact have found resonance in other parts of the country. Inquiries have been pouring in from neighbouring districts as well as from other states like Nagaland, where the biopod initiative is now in the process of being scaled up. Back in Muhamma, despite the funding received by A-Tree ending in 2020, the project continues to live on with the NGO's support and the Panchayat's leadership. For the residents here, continuing to set a model in wetland conservation is as important a task as protecting and conserving the lake that nourishes and sustains them.